Mindscape Echoes. Chapter 1, The Assimilation Wave. The crimson glow of the setting sun cast long skeletal shadows across the ravaged cityscape. Dr. Selena Hadley squinted through the reinforced window of her makeshift lab, the once vibrant metropolis of New Shanghai, now a twisted mockery of its former glory. Towering skyscrapers, once testaments to human ingenuity, now stood like broken teeth, their shattered windows reflecting the dying sun like vacant eyes. The air, thick with the acrid tang of ozone and burning metal, carried the ever-present hum of alien machinery, a constant reminder of the oppressive presence above. Selena sighed, the sound lost in the low hum of the ventilation system. It had been 5 years since the Zoshan arrived, their sleek, obsidian warships blotting out the sun in their relentless assault. Humanity, caught off guard by their hive mind tactics and advanced weaponry, had been systematically crushed. Now scattered pockets of resistance clung to existence, a flickering ember against the encroaching darkness. Across the lab, a young woman, barely out of her teens, meticulously cleaned a disassembled plasma rifle. Her name was Joanna Cordula, one of the last recruits to join Selena's dwindling research team. Unlike the hardened veterans who had succumbed to despair or the Zoshan onslaught, Joanna's youthful face still held a spark of defiance, a flicker of hope that Selena envied. "Another city gone, Dr. Hadley," Joanna spoke, her voice barely a whisper above the rhythmic clinking of metal against metal. Selena turned, the harsh fluorescent lights glinting off the steely glint in her eyes. "Another assimilated," she corrected, her voice raspy from years of exhaustion and unshed tears. "There's a difference, Joanna. We can rebuild a city, but assimilation—" She trailed off, the weight of their reality hanging heavy in the air. A sudden crackle from the comm unit on the table jolted them both. Selena grabbed it, her fingers drumming a nervous rhythm on the console as the static cleared. A distorted voice, laced with urgency, filled the room. "This is Dr. Anya Sharma, Research Facility Beta 7. We have a potential weapon. Repeat, a potential weapon against the Zoshan. Respond if you—" The voice trailed off, replaced by a hiss of static. Selena slammed the comm unit down, her heart pounding against her ribs. "Beta 7? That facility was abandoned decades ago, lost during the initial invasion." Joanna tilted her head, her brow furrowed in confusion. "A weapon, Dr. Hadley? What could they have possibly found?" Selena stared at the comm unit, a spark of something long dormant igniting in her eyes. A weapon. Hope. It was a fragile thing, easily extinguished by the harsh realities of their world. But for the first time in years, Selena felt a flicker of warmth spread through her chest. "Pack your gear, Joanna," she said, her voice firm with newfound purpose. "We're going on a mission." Joanna straightened, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "About time, Dr. Hadley. I was starting to think research was all spreadsheets and dusty old theories." Selena met her gaze, a ghost of a smile mirroring Joanna's on her own lips. This theory, Joanna, could change everything. The weight of their mission, the perilous journey ahead, and the unknown that awaited them at the abandoned research facility hung heavy in the air. But for the first time in a long time, Dr. Selena Hadley felt a sliver of hope pierce the darkness. It was a fragile hope, but it was a start. Chapter 2. Echoes of the Past. The battered transport shuddered as it bounced over the uneven terrain, kicking up a plume of ochre dust that momentarily obscured the desolate landscape. Dr. Selena Hadley gripped the armrest, her knuckles white against the worn metal. Beside her, Joanna Cordula stared out the viewport, her youthful face etched with a grim determination that mirrored Selena's own. Days of relentless travel had taken their toll. The meager rations had left Selena's stomach grumbling and her head pounding. Yet, despite the hardships, a flicker of anticipation danced in her eyes. Reaching Research Facility Beta 7, a relic from a bygone era, seemed like a long shot at best, a desperate gamble fueled by a single crackling message. The transport finally sputtered to a halt, its engine whining in protest. Selena and Joanna emerged, squinting against the harsh sunlight that beat down on the desolate plains. Before them stood a hulking, obsidian monolith, its once gleaming surface now marred by cracks and fissures. The remnants of a forgotten logo, a stylized human brain, were barely visible above the entrance. Beta 7, Selena murmured, a wave of nostalgia washing over her. Years ago, as a bright-eyed researcher, she'd devoured research papers on this facility, a beacon of human ingenuity exploring the uncharted territories of the mind. Now it stood as a silent testament to the Zoshan onslaught, a stark reminder of the fragile nature of progress. Pushing open the heavy blast doors, they were met with an oppressive silence. Dust motes danced in the stale air, catching the faint beams of their flashlights. The sterile white corridors, once bustling with lab technicians and scientists, were eerily empty. The only sounds were the rhythmic drip of a leaky pipe and the echo of their own footsteps. Selena led the way, her steps purposeful as she navigated the labyrinthine corridors. Finally, they reached a large chamber, its walls lined with deactivated machinery and flickering holographic displays displaying cryptic data streams. In the center of the room stood a device unlike any Selena had ever seen, a gleaming metallic sphere with intricate biocircuits pulsing with a faint blue light. The mind transfer device, Selena breathed, a sense of awe battling with trepidation in her chest. This was it, the potential weapon Dr. Sharma had mentioned. But how could transferring a human consciousness into an alien body be a weapon? The ethical implications alone were staggering. Joanna approached the device, tracing a finger along its smooth surface. A wave of dizziness washed over her, and she stumbled back, clutching her head. Images, fragmented and unsettling, flooded her vision, a swirling vortex of obsidian warships, a hive mind pulsating with a cold, alien intelligence. She cried out, collapsing to her knees. Selena rushed to her side, concern etched on her face. "Joanna, what's wrong?" Joanna shook her head, gasping for breath. Visions, Dr. Hadley. Images of the Zoshan, and fear, such cold, consuming fear. Selena's brow furrowed. Could the device be malfunctioning, causing these strange visions? Or was it a side effect, an unforeseen consequence of the transfer process? She looked at the device with renewed apprehension. This wasn't just reactivating old technology. It was playing with the very fabric of human consciousness. A sudden tremor shook the facility, followed by a low, ominous hum that resonated through the chamber. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and the holographic displays flickered wildly. Selena cursed under her breath. They had been compromised. The Zoshan had detected them. "We have to get out of here now," she yelled, grabbing Joanna's arm and pulling her towards the exit. But the hum grew louder, punctuated by the unmistakable sounds of distant blaster fire. They were trapped. The mission to unlock humanity's last hope had just become a desperate fight for survival. Chapter 3. Mind Meld. The air crackled with raw energy as Dr. Selena Hadley adjusted the final settings on the mind transfer device. Beads of sweat trickled down her forehead, a mixture of nervous anticipation and cold fear. The captured Zoshan body lay inert on the table, its obsidian skin reflecting the harsh glow of the emergency lights. Across the room, Joanna Cordula sat on a metal chair, her face pale and drawn, a web of wires snaking from her temples to the device. "Are you sure about this, Dr. Hadley?" Joanna's voice trembled, barely a whisper above the whirring of the machine. Selena gripped Joanna's hand, her touch surprisingly warm, despite the chill that had settled in her gut. "This is our only chance, Joanna. We can disrupt their hive mind, turn them against each other. It's a desperate gamble, but—" Her voice trailed off, the weight of the responsibility heavy on her shoulders. Joanna squeezed her hand back, a flicker of determination replacing the fear in her eyes. "Then let's do it. For humanity." Selena nodded, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. With a deep breath, she initiated the transfer sequence. The air crackled with a surge of energy, and Joanna gasped, her body tensing on the chair. The captured Zoshan body on the table twitched, its obsidian skin shimmering with an unnatural light. A choked scream ripped from Joanna's throat as her consciousness, ripped from her human form, plunged into an alien sea of sensations. A torrent of images, emotions, and alien thoughts flooded her mind, the cold, calculating logic of the Zoshan hive mind, the fear of individual units struggling against its control, the insatiable hunger for assimilation. Joanna cried out again, overwhelmed by the cacophony of alien thoughts. Her vision blurred, and the sterile lab environment dissolved into a swirling vortex of obsidian and pulsating blue light. The Zoshan body on the table convulsed violently before finally falling still. Selena rushed to Joanna's side, her face etched with worry. "Joanna, can you hear me?" A ragged gasp escaped Joanna's lips, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Then, in a voice distorted and laced with a hint of alien rasp, she spoke. "Dr. Hadley, I can see them, feel them, all connected." A wave of relief washed over Selena. The transfer had worked. Now came the real challenge, using Joanna's newfound connection to disrupt the Zoshan attack. Outside, the ground trembled with the relentless pounding of Zosian war machines. Selena grabbed a comm unit. "Everyone, fall back! We need to create a diversion." A flurry of activity followed. Grenades exploded, showering the corridors with shrapnel and smoke. Selena watched Joanna struggle to stand, her movements jerky and uncoordinated as she tried to navigate the unfamiliar alien body. "Joanna, focus!" Selena yelled, her voice barely audible above the din. "Use their connection, disrupt their communication, overload the hive mind." Joanna closed her eyes, concentrating on the overwhelming telepathic chorus within her. Images of Zoshan warships flashed in her mind, their tactical formations shifting and blurring. With a mental push, she amplified the confusion, sowing seeds of doubt within the hive mind network. The Zoshan attack faltered. Orders became garbled, movements erratic. The war machines hesitated, their weapons swiveling erratically. Selena and her team pressed their advantage, launching a desperate counterattack. But the victory was short-lived. The Zosian hive mind, though fractured, was not broken. With a surge of collective will, they overwhelmed the resistance. Selena felt a searing pain as a stray energy blast grazed her shoulder. Joanna screamed, the Zoshan body convulsing as the hive mind tightened its control. "Joanna, fight it!" Selena screamed, her voice hoarse with exertion and fear. But it was too late. Zoshan soldiers swarmed over them, their obsidian forms looming large. They grabbed a struggling Joanna, her inhuman cries echoing through the corridors. As darkness claimed Selena's vision, the last thing she saw was the cold, emotionless stare of a Zoshan soldier, a flicker of her own desperate plea reflected in its black, multifaceted eyes. Her gamble had failed. Humanity's last hope had been captured, assimilated into the very enemy they sought to defeat. Now, trapped and alone, Dr. Selena Hadley faced an uncertain future, the weight of her failure crushing her spirit. Chapter 4: Symphony of Rebellion. The harsh fluorescent lights cast a sterile glow on the cold metallic chamber. Dr. Selena Hadley winced, the throbbing pain in her shoulder a constant reminder of her failed gamble. She was roughly shoved into the cell, the heavy metal door clanging shut behind her. Despair, a familiar companion in these bleak times, threatened to engulf her. Joanna, their only hope, was gone, assimilated by the very enemy they sought to defeat. Suddenly, a distorted voice echoed in her mind, a voice laced with a desperate confusion. Images flooded her consciousness, a swirling vortex of obsidian warships. But this time, a flicker of doubt, a spark of resistance against the cold, calculating logic of the hive mind. It was Joanna struggling for control. A sliver of hope pierced through Selena's despair. Joanna was alive, and somehow she was fighting back. But how? Focusing on the tenuous telepathic connection, Selena reached out, her voice a tentative whisper in the vast mental landscape. "Joanna, can you hear me?" The response was immediate, a jumble of fragmented thoughts and emotions. "Dr. Hadley, it's confusing. So many voices, but some different." Selena pressed on. "They're assimilating you, Joanna, but some Zosian units, they question the hive mind. You can use that, sow discord, amplify their doubts." A surge of determination echoed in Joanna's mental voice. "But how? They're a single entity." "They seem like one," Selena countered, "but they're individuals forced into a collective. Focus on the dissenters, the ones questioning their purpose. Help them break free. Joanna concentrated, her mental focus growing stronger. Selena felt the telepathic landscape shift, a symphony of voices rising in a cacophony of confusion and doubt. Images flickered in her mind. Xosian soldiers hesitating mid-march, their obsidian faces contorted in a flicker of independent thought. Confusion rippled through the hive mind. Orders became garbled, movements erratic. The unwavering obedience that had marked the Socian onslaught faltered. "Now, Joanna," Selena urged, channeling all her remaining strength. "Overload them! Disrupt the hive mind!" With a mental scream, Joanna unleashed a psychic surge, a wave of raw emotion and rebellion that crashed through the Yazoshan collective. The chamber pulsed with blinding light, the metallic walls groaning under the invisible pressure. In her mind, Selena witnessed the hive mind buckle. The once unified chorus fractured into a cacophony of screams and pleas for individuality. Zoshan soldiers outside the cell stumbled, clutching their heads as they writhed in agony. The metallic door clanged open with a bang. Selena shielded her eyes against the harsh fluorescent light. Two Zoshan soldiers stood before her, their forms wavering, their obsidian skin flickering with an unnatural light. They looked at her, not with the cold, emotionless stare of their kind, but with a flicker of confusion, fear. Before Selena could react, a wave of dizziness washed over her. The Zosian soldiers collapsed, their bodies inert. The telepathic connection faded, leaving behind an echoing silence. Had she won? She stumbled out of the cell, her legs weak and wobbly. The sterile corridors were eerily quiet, devoid of the usual Zoshan presence. The air crackled with a faint blue luminescence, a lingering after effect of Joanna's psychic assault. Then from a distance, she heard a choked cough. Selena followed the sound, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and trepidation. There, slumped against the wall, was Joanna, her human form racked with exhaustion, her eyes flickering open to meet Selena's gaze. "Dr. Hadley," Joanna rasped, a weak smile playing on her lips. "We did it, didn't we?" Tears welled up in Selena's eyes, a mixture of relief and exhaustion washing over her. She nodded, pulling Joanna into a tight embrace. "Yes, Joanna, we did. The victory was fragile, the future uncertain. But for the first time in a long time, Dr. Selena Hadley allowed herself to hope. They had not only survived, but they had struck a blow against the seemingly invincible Zoshan hive mind. And in doing so, they had ignited a spark of rebellion, a symphony of dissent that could potentially shatter the very foundation of their enemy's control. Chapter 5, Echoes of Hope. The ravaged city shimmered under the weak rays of the polluted sun. Crumbled skyscrapers cast long shadows, stark reminders of the Zoshan onslaught. Yet amidst the ruins, a flicker of activity stirred. Teams of humans, their faces etched with a mixture of grief and determination, cleared debris and salvaged materials. The once oppressive silence was broken by the rhythmic clang of hammers and the whirring of makeshift construction machines. Humanity, battered but not broken, was starting to rebuild. In a makeshift medical bay housed in a half-collapsed hospital, Dr. Selena Hadley fussed over Joanna, who lay on a repurposed examination table. Joanna's human body, weakened from the ordeal, bore the scars of battle and the lingering after-effects of the mind transfer. But it was the alien shell, the obsidian Zosian body resting beside her, that truly unsettled Selena. "How are you feeling, Joanna?" "When done to Selena asked, her voice laced with concern. Joanna shifted uncomfortably in the bed, her human hand reaching out to tentatively touch the alien form. "Strange, Dr. Hadley. Disconnected. It feels wrong to be in this." Selena understood. The ethical implications of Joanna's actions weighed heavily on both of them. Wielding telepathy, inhabiting an alien body, these were things that belonged to science fiction, not the harsh reality they faced. "But it worked, Joanna," Selena reminded her softly. "You disrupted their hive mind, gave humanity a fighting chance." Joanna sighed, a sound that resonated with a strange metallic echo in the quiet room. "At what cost, Dr. Hadley? Am I still human anymore?" Selena squeezed Joanna's hand, her gaze resolute. "You are the reason we have hope, Joanna. You showed us that even the Zoshan are not invincible. And as for your humanity, that's not defined by your body, but by your will, your spirit. Hope, a fragile thing, began to bloom in Joanna's eyes. Outside, the sounds of reconstruction grew louder, a testament to humanity's resilience. Selena smiled faintly. There was much work to be done. Captured Zoshan technology offered a glimpse into their advanced systems, and Joanna's telepathic connection provided invaluable insights. Selena had begun work on perfecting the mind transfer device. It wouldn't just be a weapon, it would offer a choice to remain human or to utilize the Zosian body for enhanced strength and resilience. But the ethical questions remained. Was it right to tamper with the very essence of human existence? Suddenly, a jolt pierced Selena's mind, a faint echo of a telepathic signal. It wasn't the cold, calculating logic of the Zosian hive mind, but a flicker of human thought, weak and desperate. A survivor, another human mind trapped within the network. Selena's eyes widened. They weren't alone. There were others out there fighting for their individuality within the Zosian collective. A newfound purpose surged through her. They would find a way to free them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow across the scarred cityscape, Dr. Selena Hadley looked at Joanna, a silent promise passing between them. They had faced the Zosian and emerged stronger, forever changed by the encounter. The future stretched before them, uncertain yet filled with a cautious optimism. Humanity, forever marked by the echoes of the Zoshan and the power of the human mind, would rise again.